Hi, my name is Brandy,
And I'm Rhonda.
and welcome to Girl Talk with
R&B. All right, guys. So today's topic is we're going to talk about friendship seasons. So basically, what this podcast is going to talk about is the different seasons that we have with different friendships. Okay.
Yeah. So when you think about seasons, we know that seasons change, right? They seasons sometimes can last. We think about months, and so when we're thinking about even a season of, let's think about a difficult season, right? We know that when people talk about, oh, I went through a difficult season, it didn't last forever, right? And then there are seasons that last a lifetime.
Yep.
And so today we're gonna talk about like what understanding, first of all, recognizing that some things are seasonal. If it's seasonal, is it a season of a couple months, a couple years, maybe even a couple decades? Or is this a lifetime thing? Okay.
And then when I was sitting here thinking about it this morning and trying to think of my thoughts and because it could even be for just a short day. You know, I think about with my patients and we both saying, I needed this, or, you know, and you, right then you're building a friendship. You might never see them again, you know, but you are building a friendship in that moment.
Right.
So I wrote down people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So we're going to talk about some of the things. So I wrote some things down, and from Psych Central, their definition of reason is, this is a short-lived relationship that brings a benefit or helps you with realization. It helps you to be specific. It helps you with a specific difficulty you're facing, either intentionally or unintentionally.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I love that. I love that quote, and it really helps you put things in perspective. Like I said, people come into your life for a reason. So, like you said, with your patients, it may have just been a reason. Maybe that time that you were with that patient, your reason was simply to provide hope, simply to encourage them, simply to put a smile on their face,
Simply to listen.
simply to listen. You served your purpose. You did. You provided. You stepped up for the reason, right? And then, like Rhonda was saying, it may be for a day. You may never see that patient again, but maybe it was the reason was also to plant some positive seeds of hope, right?
So I have an example, because the other day I was doing a lady and her daughter was with her, and she was saying the same thing, that she's an introvert. So she was having a difficult time, and so I was telling her, I gave her our podcast to come in and see, to look at it, and she was just talking about how difficult it was, but we had so many connections when we were talking. It was just, like I say, sometimes it's just magical, and I'll tell people all the time, my patients, I was like, I didn't have to pull your name.
Right.
It's four other texts that could have pulled your name. So this is nothing but God. We needed this time with each other. So that was just a day. I'll probably never see them again. Maybe on YouTube she'll make a comment or something, but
Right. So again, the reason could be a short-lived situation. The benefit was what happened. And then, okay, so reading the definition season. This is when a relationship accompanies you through a certain period of your life. It lasts for some time and brings you joy and growth. You might learn a lot from the relationship, but it eventually ends. So, again, going back to when my first podcast, when we talked about how sometimes people find it difficult to make new connections. It was pretty easy when we were in school, right? So think about high school. You may have been that person that had multiple like BFFs. You had a close group of friends. Like if it was back in the day when we would be on our landline. You know what I'm saying? You had some friends that you would probably be on the phone with for hours and everything. I remember the day that I graduated high school. So that was 28 years ago. I remember my mom saying, take a good look at your classmates, because some of them you will never see again. And that was so hard to imagine, because a lot of my classmates, I knew them from church. So I had a few classmates that not only did we went to church together, but we were in elementary school together. So the idea of that I may never see this person again, it was kind of difficult. But the reality is, it's been 28 years since I've graduated. There are some people that I've seen them maybe on Facebook, and there are some people that I'm like, I wonder how so-and-so, a random person, classmate may pop in my mind, and I'm like, I wonder if they're on Facebook, and sometimes I may see them, maybe not. But again, that was a season. So again, like it says, it's for a certain period of time. So we had these relationships. Some of these relationships will go into adulthood. I think about my sister and her best friends. My sister, she's in her 30s now, but she still has the same best friends from when she was like 8 years old or whatever, And so the idea is that those are possibly going to be those friendships that last a lifetime. We don't know yet, but very well could be. But I think it's important to recognize when it says that it lasts for some time and it can bring joy and growth. I think that's very important, because what happens when they no longer bring joy and you're no longer growing, So I think
sometimes you just go separate ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes nothing bad has to happen at all for y'all to stop being friends. You just kind of go separate ways, and it's okay. So I wanted to talk about that, being okay with, having somebody in your life just for a season. So we wrote down too that sometimes you grieve the loss of a friendship. And I can say that at one point in my life, I did do that. I had one best friend for something and one best friend for something else. And losing that best friend, it was very, very tough for me. I grieved for years because I missed that part of the friendship that me and that other person had, But then you just get to the point where you just have to accept it is what it is,
And speaking of grief, because a lot of times when people hear the word grief or grieving, they automatically connect to death, right? But the reality is that when we can grieve things in our life because it didn't work out the way we expected it to. And that can be any area of your life. So with the friendship, because you may have that thing where it's just like, what happened? And a lot of times we want to find a reason, and sometimes it's not a reason. It's just that, think about, got this little snack pack right here. There's an expiration date on it, right? Some things just have an expiration. It doesn't mean that it was, again, now we do know that some people fouled out for whatever, and it's like, they had some drama going on, and then sometimes it can be a real abrupt thing, but then sometimes it can just be a gradual thing because of where life has brought you. And I will say this, I tell people proximity plays a big role in that too, because a lot of times you may have had close-knit friendships, relationships, and then as we're adults, people move different cities, different states, or even out the country. And whereas you guys used to get together maybe a few times a week, now you may only see that person once a year, if that. So it can cause you find yourselves like you don't talk as much as you used to. Again, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong, that you're mad. It's just kind of life just kind of happened, right?
And it's okay.
Yeah. And so, and know that it's okay. You may have ended a friendship, a close relationship may have ended, and you may have felt some kind of way, and you didn't even realize, like, that's what it was. I was going through a grieving process. So recognize that.
Yes.
Grief is very normal when a relationship that you've been so connected to has come to an end. All right.
And it is okay to grieve, y'all. So
It
if you need to
is.
take, like I said, I did it for years, not like I was crying every day, but when I would think
When you
about
think
certain
about 'em,
situations,
yeah.
or it'd be something like, oh, I wish I had her to talk to,
right.
just stuff like that. It would be sad for me.
Exactly.
So, take the time you need to grieve whatever you have lost, for sure. But then after a while, you just have to say, okay,
Yeah.
it is what it is. Let's move forward.
And I will say this now. Let me just say this: it's now if you know that you've done something wrong,
Oh, yeah.
remember, take the time to go and make amends. Now, that
Apologize,
relationship may
yeah.
never be what it was because sometimes there's, damage that's done. It's like, and it's okay. It's okay. But always, if you are in a position and if you're alive, you in the position, you make amends, okay? And then there are some times when there's what we call necessary endings. When you are connected to, you're in a relationship that it's terrible for you. You even recognize when you're around certain friends, it could be a group or whatever, that you're not your best self. Some things that you probably used to do back in the day, that maybe this friend or group of friends, they still do things, and that no longer even, that doesn't even represent who you are now, right? But you feel kind of almost obligated because they've been your friend all your life. It may be time for a necessary ending.
Yes.
A necessary ending means that when one chapter must close, must end before you can go to the next chapter.
And sometimes it is necessary, especially so I had an incident where I was going through some things in my life with some other family members that dealt with depression and other things, and I was around somebody who was very, very negative, and they couldn't understand why I wasn't there for them, because it just drains you. It takes so much out of you when somebody is negative like that. Nothing that came out of her mouth was positive. I mean, everybody out to get her. She don't like me. It's just negative, and sometimes you have to separate for your own peace of mind. You have to separate yourself from people who are negative. Like we said in the last podcast, you have to make sure that you surround yourself with like-minded people, surround yourself with positive people to help you to be positive as well. You keep being around negative people, it's not going to work.
Right. If you are constantly around negative. Now, also, when we think about seasons, so this is a thing, none of this is forced. Like when we're thinking about friendships that are even like lifetime, if you find that you're constantly trying to insert yourself in somebody's life, there's no reciprocity. That might be a friendship that is either gonna be it's a necessary ending, or you just let that thing just go on and fade on out, right? So going back to quality over quantity, because again, we live in a world of social media, and if you're not careful, you will take your quantity of Facebook friends or social media friends, and you will view that as, okay, I have a lot of friends, but who are the people that you can reach out to in the time of need? Let's just say, for instance, if your car broke down and you needed a ride somewhere, who is that person that you could really reach out to, right? And so when you start thinking about those individuals, those are probably your friends, right? When you have something exciting going on in your world, who are those people that you want to reach out to first? Whether it's a text message, you want to get on FaceTime with them, you want to give them a call. Who are those people, right? And so we think about, again, quality, the value, versus quantity, just it's a lot of them. Because sometimes you think about, you might have 100 pennies, the quantity is there, and you got $1 bill. I much rather have that $1 bill than all these doggone pennies, and I gotta figure out how many pennies is it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
and how many pennies are true, and how
Right.
many pennies have my best interest.
that part right there. So you know what? I got this one solid dollar. I can depend on it, So
True.
reciprocity, the value. If you find that you are in a relationship where you're constantly giving, and you never receive that back, that's probably not a quality relationship or friendship, right? So also recognize that when we're talking about seasons again, maybe 5 years ago you had that. Maybe this was a quality relationship 5 years ago. Okay? Maybe that relationship, it served its purpose. Like you were there for them, they were there for you. You guys had fun together. You were able to be your most authentic self. If you needed a shoulder to cry on. And guess what? Again, we talk about those seasons. Maybe it just faded out. Recognize if it don't fit, don't force it.
Right.
So
I love that.
think about since we're talking about seasons, think about when trees, there are some trees that every year they're gonna lose their leaves. They're gonna lose those leaves. But then by spring, so fall, the leaves are gonna fall, the leaves are gonna come off the branches or whatever, right? Whatever the terminology is. And then by spring, you start seeing the budding again. Then there are some trees that I've noticed in the last few years, that I'm like, wow, that tree never lost its leaves. Like it's December and there's still leaves on there. The colors may have changed, but they're still there. So that's when you kind of think about like the lifetime friend, right? There ain't nobody going around, there ain't nobody trying to go and tape the leaves back because they're like, we're going to let it do what it do, right?
Let it flow naturally,
Let it flow naturally, yes.
I really, really love that analogy with the tree because that's how it is. Like Brandy said, if you have to go and you trying to force your way to hang out with them and all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, at our age, why even waste your time?
Right.
Like I say all the time, focus on the people that really care for you
yeah.
and have your best interest,
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that.
So I would say this again, friendship seasons, recognize, because as you're listening to this, watching this or whatever, you're probably kind of doing a
self-check.
The self-check, you're kind of going through or whatever, and you may have said even like, I went through that with some friends, like, when people ask like, how's so-and-so, and you're like, you know what, we don't even really talk anymore. And again, it's not a bad thing, it's just life happened, but I will say this, if you had a misunderstanding, a falling out, you don't necessarily need to go and put all that out there. Just be like, I'm just at a different place in my life. Leave it at that. We have to be careful that when people hurt us or when we're hurt, we fall out, we don't need to, I'm not going to add to tainting somebody's name, okay? A simple, we kind of had, we just kind of grew apart. We kind of had a little small misunderstanding, if you want to say that. But it's okay. You don't have to tell everything, because the reality is, let me say this, you may say something damaging about someone. That person may not even be that same person that you fell out with. Okay, so now you've painted this tainted image of someone. So be careful about that. All right. Just say, I'm just at a different place in my life. We're not enemies or whatever.
Yeah. Because it does happen, y'all. It does happen where you just lose friends, and sometimes you don't even know why. But most of the time is that y'all just grew apart. And it's nothing. And when you're talking, when she was saying apologize, like if you have done something wrong, that's the main thing that you want to do for yourself. When you apologize to someone, you can kind of free yourself of what you've done, even if they don't accept your apology, or even if if it's a text, even if they don't respond, you've done your part,
Right.
So just make sure if you've done something wrong to somebody that was close to you, you need to make amends with them so that you can.
And I want to say this,
and move forward.
And I think we may have said this in one of the earlier podcasts about now. If you just keep finding that your friends keep dropping like flies, At some point, you gotta do some self-reflection and recognize what's the common factor here. If everywhere you go, and I know some of our friends that's listening, they know what I'm about to say. If everywhere you go it smell like an onion, then at some point you have to recognize you're the onion. You have to recognize that you are the onion. If you only have negative things to say about the people in your life, everybody's, like Rhonda was saying, she had a friend, everybody was out to get them. At some point, you need to do a little self-reflection. And maybe even start with what's your qualities? What are all the great qualities that you bring to a table? And if you might struggle, okay? Or how about this? Reach out to those friends and even ask them, like what are what great qualities or what qualities do I possess regarding being a friend? I want to know. I want to become a better friend. Again, this is for that person who you realize, like, God dang, every year I'm making new friends. Like, what's the problem? It's not like I'm moving. I keep falling out with folks, or they keep fading away. What is it? And I highly encourage you to do a self-inventory, self-reflection, reach out to those people that you feel safe enough with to say, hey, kind of tell me about me. Like, I've struggled in this area. Thinking about even with dating. You meet people, you meet this dude, you like, oh, he's so great, he's that. Then 3 months later, he's awful. Well, like, met 10 great men and they all end up awful. Is it something about you? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So again, self-reflection, and if you are struggling in this, do yourself a benefit and reach out to somebody who you trust them
to tell you the truth.
You trust them to take, because see, we know that there are some people out there that you could come and ask them and they not gonna tell you nothing wrong. They gonna, oh girl, that was them. Oh, everything. But you wanna reach out and you like tell them, hey, I want you to be honest because I'm trying to be a better person. Like what are some of the flaws that you see that I do that maybe I'm not recognizing?
Yes.
Right?
Because some people don't.
Yeah.
They don't even realize that they're being negative all the time.
Right.
And sometimes you just have to tell the person, okay,
Yeah.
hey, come on.
Like, come on,
I need some positivity in my life. Being negative all the time, I can't do that.
Because you be like, all my friendships just keep. I don't have no friends from 2 years ago. It's like, okay, you the common factor here, So again, yes, friendships can be seasonal, but the beautiful thing is that friendships can last a lifetime. So when we think about lifetime too, you got to be very careful of having the mindset of no new friends. Because what if you are at a season in your life that new friendships are going to come and develop, and that new friendship that comes after the age of 40, after the age of 50, what if that's your lifetime friend?
Yeah, don't miss out.
Don't miss out.
Don't miss out.
Don't miss out. So don't try to force something, but then also be open to something new, because that new connection, the new season in your life may result in a lifetime of friendship. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think we've discussed it. The grief, again, recognize it. You may feel like, why am I feeling like this? Or when this person's name come up, just recognize, oh, I didn't realize I was grieving. Why am I grieving? Why am I struggling? Because it didn't turn out the way I expected. Again, grief is not always about death. It's not about somebody dying all the time. Again, it can come down to, this is not how I imagined this to be. And I'm
like
struggling.
Losing a friend.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's all different types of grief that you have to just recognize. And I wanted to say too, like, even though I don't really have issues with friendships, I still self-evaluate myself to make sure that I'm the best version of myself. And you can even do that in your marriages or in your
I recommend it. I highly recommend
girlfriend,
it.
or whatever you do. You can definitely do
Yeah.
that to self-evaluate, to see what you can do better to make things better.
Any relationship, really, because even from a business, relationship, any relationship that you're in, because the thing about it is, if you're either going to be adding to, you're going to be taking away, and at some point, if you just constantly taking away,
It won't work.
you have a lack of value, and so people will be like, she doesn't really bring value. Okay, so again, whatever relationship that is, again, it could be romantic, it can be a friendship, a sisterhood, or whatever, a business relationship, but self-evaluate. What am I bringing to the table? I think that's a very great thing to do on a regular basis.
I do too.
Yeah, I love
and
it.
I do that. So, anything else you want to add, my sister?
You know what? I don't think so. Because again, we talked about, the reasons why friendships end. Sometimes it just, life is. It is what it is,
Yeah.
Again, when we talk about misunderstandings, when you self-reflect and you're like, ooh, reach out to the person. And again, recognize it may never be. That person may say thank you for that, and you guys go on. You may slowly find that you guys have reconnected again, because maybe that person had been waiting for an apology. Okay,
That's true.
Again, we're talking about what's organic. Like, oh, I apologize to them, but they still acting funny. You apologize.
That's it.
That's
Let
it.
it go.
That's it. You know what I'm saying?
They either gonna accept it or they not.
And they can accept it and say, I really appreciate your apology, and they decide to move on, and that is okay. But I think all you can do is control who? You. Right. That's it. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's so important that when we think about, again, I love the definition when it says, the relationships, friendships bring you joy and growth. And when you recognize that you're connected to a relationship that is no longer bringing you joy, is bringing toxic, is just bringing just a whole lot.
Negativity.
You are not growing. This person, nobody, there's no accountability. Your season might be up. You might have got the expiration date on it.
And it's okay, y'all. It's really okay. I know sometimes that it can make you feel down because you have to separate yourself from somebody, but most of the time, or all the time, you have to think about yourself and where you're going and what you're trying to do. If nobody is adding to, then not just say like don't never talk to them again, but just move forward. Find people who are pouring into you and giving you what you need to thrive.
Right. And you know what? That brought up something. I had someone that mentioned that they're at a place where it's kind of difficult for them to still be connected. They find it difficult because they're at a place where their spiritual life is growing. They're really growing in that area, and so the friends that they were connected to, they're not there. And there's like, I don't want them to think that I'm being funny, but I'm just not that same person. And I'm like, and you recognize your season with them is up. So again, if I gotta water down who I am to be with you because, or maybe I'm like, oh, they're gonna think I'm all of that, then that's not a friend, right? The season is up, right? So when I was talking with this young lady, and she was just like, I'm struggling because I still love them, but we're different
people.
And I'm like, and that's okay. Nobody's saying you have to go and say, hey, what you doing? I'm just letting you know I'm calling, I'm breaking up with you. No. What you do is you recognize that we're different. And even if they were to ask like, hey, you just kind of seem distant, you can be honest and just say, I'm just at a place in my life where this is what I'm prioritizing. Like I'm, my spiritual growth. I've been going to church a lot. I've been praying. I've been doing a lot of stuff. And some of the things that we've been doing that don't really, represent again who I am. It's not in alignment. So it's nothing. It's just that, hey, I'll see you this weekend at the birthday party. You know what I'm saying? So again, you don't have to go and break up, but then again, recognize, is there a necessary ending? So if it's between your spiritual growth, your personal growth and development, and maintaining this friendship, this relationship, then that might be a necessary ending. Okay, so I think that's where we're wanting you guys to understand, like letting something go naturally, or when there's a necessary ending that is required. Like, I have to break this up. And again, think about it in a romantic relationship. There have been times that you recognize, I gotta go on and break up with this joker because this is
He ain't the one.
He ain't the one, right? I gotta go ahead and break up because I'm miserable. So that's a necessary ending. And again, sometimes it may happen like that with a friendship. And again, you may have to still go through the process, even if it's you're causing it to end. You're gonna still have some grief, probably. It's okay. Remember, we're not gonna damage anybody's name. Okay, you can
Be grown up, y'all.
Be grown up.
Be grown up.
Be grown
So
up.
I thought about that because from where I was in high school and like where I'm moving to, I often wonder, like, what do people think
About what?
about my growth and where I'm headed, because of my past? Like, what do people think? I always try to self-evaluate and think about stuff like that, like, this is just the direction that God is taking me, and I'm
you know what?
accepting it.
And this is the thing, because so like you said, what are people thinking? People that knew you or whatever. Some people, let's be real, guys, when we're growing, some people gonna always say, girl, I remember when. well, I'm sorry for them that they ain't experienced growth. You know what I'm saying? So there will be some people that want to remind you of your past. There will be some people that'll be side-eyed like, girl, I remember. Now I got some stories. And you do. And for some people, they're going to be like, look at God, like, wow.
And be happy for you, genuinely happy for you.
Yes, genuinely happy. They'll be like, girl, I remember when we was out here doing whatever.
Yes.
Or, girl, I remember when you used to be doing, and look at you now. And for some people, they may even say, like, what's the difference? What's the difference? And be able to, and I'm hoping, like, for me, I'll be like, child, it's God. You know what I'm saying?
God did it.
Right. Like, truly walking in my purpose because, again, growth. Think about even a snake. Child, they changed they what is it that skin? They shed it, right? They got some growth. You know what I'm saying? So if someone is choosing to try to keep you in your past, you have to let them know, I'm sorry, I don't live there anymore. Like you do know there's a such thing as growing up, right? And that's what I chose to do. So you don't allow anybody. We've seen this before too, where people will be in their feelings, and what'll happen is they will shrink, they will dumb down, they will water themselves down when they're around certain people because the fear of, I don't want them to think I'm fake and I'm phony. No, that's just called growth. That's just called growth.
Yeah, that's what I say when you said the fake and phony too. Like, I'm a very positive person. I do go through stuff, but I try to spread light when I'm on social media.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I'm not going through something.
Right.
Even if I'm like crying, boo-hooing, I still can type something positive,
Right.
And so I often wonder that, like, because, like I said, because of my past, like with me, I don't even know how I graduated high school, y'all. I skipped school. I mean, that was just me, so people probably look like, dang.
Like, Rhonda, look at you.
Right, look at Rhonda,
right.
So I often wonder that.
Yeah.
Like, what do people think? Even though you really shouldn't care, but I do.
That's what I was about to say. I was just about to say. And whatever they thoughts are, ain't paying their bill.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Nothing.
But I for the person that's thinking, wow, look at Rhonda. I'm so proud of you. That's beautiful.
Yes.
But for the person that's choosing to be like, girl, I remember, you be like, girl, we was kids.
Little kids.
We was in our 20s. Like, do not hold me to something that I did when I was in my 20s. Come on, what? Be like, girl, did you not grow up? Did you not grow up? Cause see, now you be like, you keep talking. The more you talk, the more I understand. I'm gonna think you stuck. You know what I'm saying?
You stuck back then.
I think it's a beautiful thing. Again, I've said this before about the two ends of a spectrum. No matter what, remember we talked about positive, negative. You just look at it, short and tall, okay? Light and dark, whatever. There's always two ends of a spectrum. And again, you're gonna have somebody when you've had the growth and development, and it's showing up in your life. You know what I'm saying? Who you are. You're gonna have somebody.
Some
that's
haters.
you know what I'm saying? You're gonna have somebody that's gonna be like, that's okay. And then you're gonna have some people that's like, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. So
And happy for
again, whichever one, what we're doing, living our lives, we're not doing it to please anybody else. Like I tell people at the end of the day, I'm accountable to God, my husband, and my kids. You know what I'm saying? And even them kids at some point listen. You know what I'm saying? But when I do things, first of all, does it honor God? I'm honoring God. I want to make sure that I don't dishonor my husband and make my children look foolish. That's all I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, sometimes them kids will be like, "Child, they'll get over it." You know what I'm saying? But again, don't ever allow anyone to take you back to where you used to be.
Or
you
to make you feel less than.
Yeah, you don't make nobody have you second guessing. Like, I wonder, you let them know, oh, child, I no longer live there.
That's the old me.
That's the old girl. That's
This
the
is
old
the
me,
new
girl.
me.
Again, girl, you ain't grow up, child.
Yeah.
Child, yeah. So, all right.
We went on and on, but that's all right.
We did. But I think somebody got it.
Yeah. And somebody needed it.
Somebody needed it. They needed that last point. Like, get over it.
Yep.
It's okay.
It's okay.
People, from the beginning of time, people have had opinions. People will have opinions until the end of time. Don't allow their opinion of you to outshine, number one, what God has said about you and what you know to be true about yourself. All right?
I love that.
Okay.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this podcast because we enjoyed doing it for you guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to push that notification bell as well so you'll know when we're coming on again. We're going to be putting out podcasts every Thursday. All right?
All right.
So we love you guys. Thanks again. Hey guys, we wanted to let you know that we are published authors and you can get our books on Amazon. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journals. I have a Dear God journal, and it's a prayer journal, and it is a 60-day journal that you can write your affirmations in. Like when we were saying on all of our podcasts, you wake up and you put what you're grateful for. It's just an awesome, awesome journal that you can have, and it's also a vision board as well. Yep. And in the front of it, you can have 100 things that you need in your life. So this kind of helps you to realize what makes you happy when you're putting it down on your page. And I also have a grief journal as well. And this is a 31-day grief journal, and it has different exercises that you can do to help you through your grieving process.
Yay. All right. And then I have my book called Book of Faith, Hearing from God. And so in this book, I share personal testimonies of my experience with hearing from God. I talk about being in a relationship that I knew was not pleasing to God, and God, blessing me with my husband. I talk about my struggles of becoming a mom, years of infertility, and how God blessed us with. We have two boys. I have an 11 and a 13-year-old now, and then I talk about a leap of faith that I took when hearing from God and hearing God tell me that it was time to move. It definitely took a leap of faith. And also in this book, I have a 21-day devotion because a lot of times people are like, how do I hear from God? And I'm not saying that you're gonna do this 21 days and all of a sudden, but it's
hear from God.
Exactly. But it's 21 days of connecting with God, and every day that starts with the scripture. Okay. There's a motivational story, and then there's a spot where you can talk about how you can relate to this. What were your takeaways or whatever. So, yeah, Book of Faith, Hearing from God.
So guys, if you guys want to support our channel, you can go on Amazon. We will put the links down in the description and you can purchase your books there. All right. Love you guys. Bye for now.